defense. Joining us now from the General Assembly, State Representative John Bell. He's a Republican from Wayne County and the House Majority Leader. Representative Bell, welcome back to the program, sir. Good to see you. Just give us the gist of this bill, what it would do, and why you want to do it.
Well, basically it's something we've been discussing for about a year and a half now, and all the bill does is allow the universities the option of having alcohol sales in their stadiums or not. And so over 50 NCAA schools are doing that already, and it has proven successful not from a revenue side but also from a safety side. And our private schools, a number of private schools here in North Carolina are doing it, and this would allow the public schools the option of doing it. Of course, with the bill, the trustees will have to vote on that and implement it as they see quarterly on each campus, but it just gives them the option of doing that.
What have those conversations with the universities been like? Obviously, there's a revenue factor, I'm sure, but what have those conversations been like with them?
Well, it's been interesting because, of course, you have the revenue side on what it's done, and we've looked at studies from other universities. You look at West Virginia, and the first year they did it, $600,000 in new revenue. Ohio State in the first year, $1.2 million in revenue during their football season. So there's definitely an immediate economic impact and a revenue impact to the universities. But a lot of the universities are concerned about safety, and a lot of them are having issues with binge drinking and problems in the parking lot. What studies we've looked at also show that you have a reduction in alcohol-related incidents that have happened. You look at what happened in West Virginia in 2012. Once this was implemented, they saw a 35% decrease in alcohol-related incidents, and the same thing has shown at Ohio State and other universities that have done this as well. So there's two components: a revenue piece and of course the safety piece, but there's also a game day experience piece.
So some people are going to wonder why does it help with safety? You know, you're putting alcohol on a silver platter. Is it because there's not as much binge drinking before the events?
Well, you're also selling the alcohol, but it's also in a controlled setting. The universities will be able to implement as they see fit. The majority of them now will run sales up to the end of the third quarter. Some events could have them, some events wouldn't have them. It's one person, one drink. So you're actually putting control mechanisms in place with also allowing the sale of alcohol to individuals over 21 years old, which eliminates a lot of the binge drinking and problems that you have before the game, during the game, and after the game.
Alcohol has, to say the least, an interesting history in this state. We're still looking at a lot of bills. We had the brunch bill in recent years. Some counties still haven't passed that. What do you think is the outlook for something like this and the appetite for it? Or thirst, I guess, a better way of putting it.
Well, in our discussions right now, we have 13 of the 15 universities that have signed on supporting this. Of course, like I said earlier, it does give the universities the option to do this. So I think you'll see the other two universities come on board. And so far, it's been pretty popular with the feedback we've been getting on social media and the response back from universities. So I think you'll see bipartisan support on this, and hopefully it will get moving here next week. We filed it today. And so myself and Senator Rick Gunn have been working on this alcohol legislation for about a year and a half now. So we feel pretty confident about our opportunities to get it passed.
What about advertising? You know, that seems like that might be the next step in this. Some of these companies that might want to advertise in these arenas and stadiums with that. Is that not part of this? Is something you wouldn't want to see or would?
Well, we'll let them handle that when it comes down to it. Right now, we just want to give the universities the ability to sell or not to sell the alcoholic beverages in the stadium.
All right, so is the process as simple as the Board of Trustees on each of these campuses agreeing with this? What is the process?
So what you're looking at is, of course, the bill will be heard in the House and then in the Senate, and then will hopefully be signed into law by the governor. There are some ABC rules, so the ABC Commission will take a look at it and apply rules accordingly. And then once that is done, the universities will have a chance to put plans in place to implement how they see fit, because each university is different. And of course, we know that Chapel Hill is completely different than East Carolina, and so they'll put plans in place to their athletic department and their universities how they implement it, and then their trustees will have the final say whether it's implemented or not.
There are going to be a lot of organizations that may perhaps be nervous about this. The same organizations, I talked about this with you off camera, Reverend Creech, and some of those Christian organizations that don't like any of the alcohol bills. What would be your message to them tonight?
Well, this is about allowing the universities to participate in already lawful venue. You know, right now we're looking at the NCAA tournaments. They're selling alcohol at the NCAA tournament sites. Just at the ACC tournament, they sold alcohol at the ACC tournament site. So this is already being done. This would have just allowed a flexibility and local control at the universities to determine how they implement this alcohol legislation themselves.
All right, Representative John Bell, thank you, sir. Good to see you. Appreciate your time tonight, sir.
Thank you.